Let's talk about the number one problem for Lorcana players, getting their hands on cards. You can see a bunch of posts on the Lorcana Reddit about pre-orders, but really what they're asking is, how do I get my hands on cards? Ravensburger's already told us that they've maybe made a mistake and didn't print as many cards as they should have. So how are we going to fix that? How are we going to get cards? Let's talk about it in the way the business works, so that way you understand how you have the best chance of actually getting your cards. So first up, how do Lorcana cards actually get printed? So first they design the cards, then they send them off to print. And like any other business, it's easier to print a lot of something than do print to order. So it's not like every time a store puts in an order, they put off a print run. That's just not how it works. Ravensburger or the Lorcana team basically prints a ton of cards, enough for like the whole US release or the French release or whichever other language they're doing. And then when the cards are done, they basically say, this is the allotment of cards we have, and then they start taking orders. So how does your game store actually get those cards? Well, they can put in an order. The problem is when there's all these stores putting in orders and they have an allotment for Target, they have an allotment for Walmart because they're the big players, but they have also an allotment for the traditional game store, which is going to get the cards 2 weeks early. So since the game stores are getting the cards 2 weeks early, when they put in their orders, I mean, everyone can order like the max order that they're going to allow, but that doesn't necessarily mean there's enough cards for everyone to get those orders, right? It just makes sense that limited things are limited. So the game stores have a date that they're required to put their orders in by to get included. And no matter what the order size, they're going to know about 3 weeks later how big of an order they're actually going to receive. So what I've heard from a local game store is that July is the cutoff to make a request for cards. And about 3 weeks in or towards the end of July, they're going to find out how many cards they're actually going to get. That actually gives the game stores enough time for them to figure out how big their pre-order is. And then they can possibly do pre-orders to customers or figure out what their plans for how they're going to distribute or sell the cards in their local store. So that's half the problem, how the cards get to the store. But then you have to remember that there's a bunch of other people looking for cards. You have the TCG collector who's trying to play the game. You have the TCG collector that is trying to just collect the cards. You have the Disney fan who are rabid and want everything Disney, so you know they're going to be looking for the cards. And then you have these guys. You have the party goers who are just looking for anything that's popular. They don't care if it's PS5s or cards. They're ready to make a buck whenever anything's in short supply. You try to make your pre-order, you don't get it, and then you want to make the 9,000 IEQ play and go online to get cards. Well, if you take a look at this, you can see that pre-orders are already jacking up over the retail street price. Here's another listing that is the actual street price of the same thing. I just want to explain what's going on here, because online retail pre-orders are not special. They go through the same process we just described earlier. People put an order in, they get certain cards. And what you can do on these websites is list them for pre-sale, which is just listing the cards that you would have sold any other way for pre-sale. And then you can just jack up the price because people have the fear of missing out, so they'll pay double, triple, or they don't even know what the street price is and they just buy it because they think that's what it is. So when you go to Amazon or TCG Player, what you're actually doing is buying a pre-sale, and sometimes they'll have actual cards listed. Like they'll have the super rare cards listed, and what they're doing is the game stores are actually, instead of distributing those cards to people so they can buy them, they're actually opening a ton of packs, maybe 300, 400 packs, and then they're just taking the rares out of those and selling those on the pre-sale. So if you do want singles, I mean, you can get pre-sales. They're going to be way more expensive the first week than they are 3 weeks later. That's just the way that works. But online may not actually be the best way to do it because a lot of those aren't even guaranteeing they'll have the cards. They're just assuming they're going to get their hands on the cards and then putting that out there on the website. You could get those cards 3 weeks later, a month later. You don't really know how long it's going to take to get that pre-sale fulfilled. We don't know what the card stores are going to have. We don't know what the online stock's going to look like. So how are you going to get cards in those first 2 weeks before Walmart and Target put them out? The thing that might give you the edge is the actual street date. They can't put the cards out until the embargo date or whatever you want to call it is over, which I believe is August 18th. Basically what that means is the stores are restricted from actually handing out or selling products until the 18th. So what you can do is on your lunch break from work, before work, take the day off from school, whatever you're doing, you go straight to the game store and meet them at store opening, probably like 10 a.m. for most game stores. But you can then buy cards there. That's what you can do the day of cards. What would be better is actually going the third week of July, like I said earlier, and checking if they'll allow you to pre-order basically every day and get to know the local manager or have them call you or something and do a pre-order that way. That would be the best way to get cards because you'll get the cards for MSRP and you'll also lock in your cards that way, and then you won't have to ask questions online of like when pre-orders are happening because you'll talk to your local guy and they'll give you the best answer that they can give you right now. If you can't get cards that way, the option to show up the day of the street date is always an option. When it moves to Target and Walmart, there's actually another tip, which is the people stocking the store don't really care. They're only paid minimum wage. They might put the stock out a day early. So I would suggest visiting the store maybe at 7 or 8 p.m. when the people are stocking the shelves for the next day because they might put the cards out early and you can pick up a bunch then. That's a pro tip. I've seen it before with Pokemon quite a bit where they stock the cards a day early. Again, they're supposed to hold that street date, but I'm not going to tattle on them if I can get that to work. The final way you're going to be able to get cards is probably YouTuber giveaways. YouTube channels will probably be trying to give away Lorcana cards for subscribers, and I will be doing the same thing. So if you want to get a head start on that, you can subscribe to the channel and then get notifications when I start doing a giveaway. My goal is to get 1,000 subscribers before Lorcana's release, and if you want to help me out with that, subscribe, like the video, and share it with a friend. Good luck getting cards.